Hey everyone, we're at America's 250th anniversary, and this one feels different. It feels like it could be a valediction, a formal farewell, not to the country itself, but to the kind of constitutional republic the founders actually designed. If we do not do something serious in the next few years, we may be saying goodbye to that system and accepting something much more centralized, urban dominated, and disconnected from the states, the communities, and the people who actually make this country work. This is not a call for panic. It is not a call for revolution. It is a call to look plainly at where we are, how we got here, and what the Constitution still gives us to correct course. 250 years ago, the American colonies declared independence from a distant centralized power that taxed without consent, ruled without representation, and treated sovereign communities as subjects. The men who signed that declaration and later framed the Constitution did not create a unitary national government. They created a federal republic, a union of sovereign states with a limited central authority whose powers were strictly enumerated. They built deliberate checks and balances inside the federal government itself, three branches, each checking each other. They created the Electoral College so that a handful of dense population centers could not dictate the presidency to the rest of the continent. They designed the U.S. Senate so that every state, regardless of size, would have exactly two senators chosen by the state legislatures, not by popular vote in the biggest cities. And they added the 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights. In plain language, any power not explicitly delegated to the federal government is reserved to the states or to the people. That was the original design. It was never meant to be a pure democracy of individuals. It was a republic of republics, states as the primary units of self-government. The structure was meant to keep real power spread out, accountable, and close enough to the people that communities could govern themselves according to their own interests, values, resources, and responsibilities. But we have drifted a long way from that design, sometimes by design, often by neglect, and often through capture. Manufacturing was outsourced to chase cheaper labor and regulatory arbitrage. Small family farms and ranches were steadily consolidated into mega operations. The data shows the trend clearly. The U.S. lost roughly 15,000 farms in 2025 alone, continuing a multi-decade consolidation that has hollowed out rural communities. The economy shifted towards service and knowledge work, concentrated in a handful of metro areas. Over time, many people living in dense urban centers became so far removed from the actual industrial and agricultural base that produces real wealth that they no longer understand the consequences of the policies they support. They are removed from the work of producing goods, growing food, maintaining power, moving freight, building infrastructure, and sustaining the physical economy. You can still see the evidence if you travel through parts of this country. Old industrial machinery sits rusting beside railroad tracks, monuments to a once dominant manufacturing sector. Walk the streets of Pittsburgh or Detroit, and you can still feel the bones of the industrial powerhouse America used to be. These places were not abstract economic statistics. They were the beating heart of American strength, innovation, and middle-class prosperity. But when the voters are insulated from that reality, it becomes easier to support policies that continue to hollow it out. When urban voters disconnected from the production support policies that accelerate deindustrialization, they are voting away the very foundation that made broad prosperity possible. The human cost shows up clearly in the labor market. The prime working age male labor force participation rate has been declining for decades, and underemployment remains high. Despite more than 10 years of national political discussion about bringing jobs back and securing the border, most net new hires in recent years have gone to immigrants, both legal and illegal, while millions of American men remain on the sidelines or in jobs that do not fully use their capabilities. At the same time, legal and illegal labor inflows have created parallel societies, workers who often send remittances abroad and retain primary loyalty to their countries of origin rather than fully assimilating into the historic American nation. Birthright citizenship has become entrenched precedent now and functions as a powerful incentive for illegal entry and chain migration. The national debt continues to climb rapidly, and abortion, even after the Dobbs decision returned authority to the states, has still not been abolished anywhere. These are not small issues. They are signs that the current arrangement is failing the citizens it was supposed to serve and protect. The problem is not only economic, It is constitutional, it is civilizational, it is structural. Globalist interests captured the commanding heights through the tax code, easy money policies, and institutional capture via DEI frameworks that prioritized identity over merit and national cohesion. Major metro areas and their suburbs now exert disproportionate influence over national policy, media, finance, culture, and administration. Today, we are dangerously close to becoming the United Cities of America. Look at the pattern. Cultural and political influence flows outward from coastal metro areas. Austin, Texas absorbed waves of migration from California and turned parts of Texas noticeably leftward on key issues. The Dallas-Fort Worth metro area has seen rapid demographic change through H-1B and other inflows that have altered local political dynamics. Virginia, once reliably conservative, flipped and stayed competitive largely because of the explosion and growth of Northern Virginia suburbs tied to the federal government and its contractors. Even state capitals like Richmond show the physical and civic decline that often accompanies the hollowing out of real state-level sovereignty. Big cities and their immediate suburbs now command disproportionate influence over national policy, media, finance, and culture. Rural and small state voices are diluted. The structural protections the founders built, the Senate as a state's house, the Electoral College, the 10th Amendment, have been eroded by the 17th Amendment, by court decisions, by administrative state growth, and by simple demographic concentration. Localities control a vast majority of decisions. This disconnect shows up in modern infrastructure as well. Data centers, the physical backbone of the digital and AI economy, are frequently sited far from major population centers to take advantage of cheap land and power. Yet they impose real costs on the states that host them. Massive consumption of land, water for cooling, and electricity. That electricity still comes from a mix that includes hydrocarbons, while unreliable renewables receive disproportionate subsidies, often championed by EV owners and environmental advocates concentrated in Center City. The rewards, however, flow disproportionately to global tech interests and remote operators, sometimes literally individuals running intensive workloads from poolside laptops in Bali, while the states bear the resource strain and grid pressure. This is extraction dressed up as progress. It is another example of concentrated urban and globalist priorities overriding the long-term interests of actual producing states and communities. This is how we arrived at a point where the original balance between the states and the federal government has been badly eroded, and this is not sustainable. A republic cannot long endure when its constitutional architecture is systematically undermined by the very centralization it was designed to prevent. The good news is that the founders left us a way to address this without revolution, without chaos, and without pretending Washington will voluntarily restrain itself. The tool is already in the Constitution. Article 5 provides that Congress shall call a convention for proposing amendments upon the applications of two-thirds of the state legislatures. Any amendments proposed must still be ratified by 3/4 of the states. That matters. It means the process is deliberate, it is slow, it is state-driven, it is difficult by design, and it functions as a constitutional safety valve for exactly this kind of moment, when the federal government has grown beyond its proper bounds and the states need to reassert their reserved powers. Other amendments in the Bill of Rights are under equal or greater pressure today, from speech and religion to arms and due process. But the 10th Amendment has been the most ignored of all. Restoring meaningful federalism is not radical. It is the most conservative, most originalist step available. National movements have their place, but too many have been co-opted, diluted, or absorbed by the very institutions they were supposed to challenge. The real durable power in this system has always resided in the states. That is where the fight must be taken, directly to your state legislators. Every patriot in every state needs to make clear that restoring the original balance is non-negotiable. So here's what you can do right now. Contact your state representative and your state senator. Ask them directly, will you support resolutions affirming the 10th Amendment and the original understanding of federalism? Will you support applications under Article 5 for a convention limited to restoring fiscal responsibility, congressional term limits, and the proper division of power between the states and federal government? Will you support stronger state authority over borders, labor markets, energy resources, land use, and infrastructure burdens like data centers? Will you resist further centralization of power in Washington and in unaccountable bureaucracies that favor concentrated urban interests over producing communities? Will you support policies that protect American workers, reduce the pull factors of illegal immigration, and address the effects of birthright citizenship, chain migration, and parallel labor markets? Will you move toward the full abolition of abortion in your state? These are straightforward questions. They deserve clear answers. This is not about any single national organization. This is not about waiting for Washington to save itself. It will not. This is about every citizen pressuring their own state house. State by state, legislator by legislator, we rebuild the firewall the founders intended. America 250 is not just a birthday party with tall ships and fireworks. It is a moment of reckoning. Do we still believe in the republic the founders designed, a union of sovereign states with a limited central government? Or have we quietly accepted rule by concentrated urban and globalist interests? Do we still believe power should be divided, local, accountable, and constitutional? Or are we prepared to become a centralized administrative state governed by cities, agencies, corporations, courts, and global interests that no longer answer to the producing communities of this country? This 250th anniversary does not have to mark the end of the republic they designed, but it will take ordinary citizens refusing to accept that outcome. It will take people contacting their state representatives and state senators. It will take pressure at the state house. It will take a serious revival of the 10th Amendment. It will take using Article 5 as the founders intended. The choice is still ours. The mechanism is still in the Constitution, and the time is now. Thanks for watching. If this made sense to you, share it with someone who still believes the original design of this country is worth fighting for. Links in the description will help you find and contact your state legislators. Take care.